Hey everyone, I thought we would recycle some jar lids today into some adorable projects. This first project we're going to get started with is a lid from one of the Dollar Tree jars that I don't need the lid for. I'm going to go ahead and give this a good couple coats of just some white chalk paint and let that dry. For now, I'm only going to be painting the inside of this. We will be doing something to the outside, but just not right now. I want to go ahead and add a little bit of baby blue to the top part of this when it is not quite completely dry. I know that we said we were going to go ahead and let that dry, but I do add a little bit of this baby blue paint. This is the Apple Barrel brand. Now you can use any kind of brand of paint. I feel like the chalk paint covers better when it comes to metal, and that's what the white is, but this blue is just the Walmart or the really inexpensive Apple Barrel paint. Now I'm just blending that in to the top of this because it's going to act as our sky. For the next part of this, I'm going to be using a piece of balsa wood. I got this in a pack from Mighty Dollar. You can get small pieces of wood that are easy to cut from Dollar Tree in packs. And I'm just taking this little tag I had laying from another project here to make a house shape, and I'm going to cut a little house shape out of this. Now that first one was just not tall enough, so I just used the other side to make one just a tad taller. And I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out, and we will sand this just a little bit to get those rough edges off. I'm going to go ahead and use that same wood to cut a little door. I thought that a house needed a door, and we will paint a window on here, but I wanted the door to be kind of 3D on it. Now you don't have to do this. You can paint your door on it. I'm going to attach my little door with some wood glue and just a tad of hot glue so that it'll hold it automatically. Get this attached before I paint it. For the house and the door, I'm going to use some like a khaki color paint and some white, and I'm going to brush, kind of dry brush both of them on the door, on and off in different areas just until I get it the way that I want it to look. I want it to look like it has a little bit of aged wood on it, and that white and tan mixture is going to get that look that I want. At first I painted the door white, but then I realized that I really needed it black because I want the door to look like it's like a window door. In other words, it's glass with window panes, and I end up painting it black, and then I do a little window beside of it to match. While I had that black paint out, I went ahead and just kind of outlined the edges of this with my brush. I didn't put a lot on there. I just kind of dry brushed around the edges of the little house to kind of outline it. And I did take the white paint and draw little lines for the windows and the doors to make panes on them. Once I get this finished and let it dry, I'm going to go ahead and use some wood glue and some hot glue to glue this into our little area on the bottom of this jar lid. We are making a house or new home magnet. I think this is a great idea to give someone when they get their first home, whether they rent their first place or they buy it. It's just a little reminder that someone cares enough to make you something to put on your refrigerator, and they cared enough to recycle to do it. I went ahead and added a few little messy clouds in the sky just to kind of break up that blue and white and blend that in a little bit better. I'm taking some white cardstock and I'm just freehanding the word home on it with this little black micron pen. I'm sorry you can't see this, but I'm just drawing the word H-O-M-E or home and putting kind of little dots on the edges of, or the ends of the lines to make it look even cuter. And then I'm going to take my Ranger or Tim Holtz ink pad that is aged with a little dauber and kind of go around the edges just to kind of outline it with a little bit of that ink. Now you can't have a new home magnet without having a key, so I dug through my vintage keys that I've just collected up. When someone passed away in our family, they had a whole thing of keys and we didn't know what they went to, and we couldn't find anything. So I just stuffed them in a old cookie tin, and I just grabbed through and found a little tiny one that would fit perfect above the top of this. And I wanted to paint it black because I felt like it would pop out better than just the vintage silver, even though I did like that because it showed, the age on it. And once I got this dry, I went ahead and dry brushed some gold paint on it just to give it a little bit of a, I don't know, a little high end or glam for that key. And I love how that key turned out with that color. Before we glue our key and our sign on, I want to trim this with some rope or some twine. So I've just grabbed some out and I'm going to cut it, I'm going to glue it in and cut it to fit all the way around this with some hot glue. We're going to glue this key with some E6000 mostly and just a drop of hot glue. That hot glue is just going to hold it temporarily while that E6000 dries. It's going to attach really well. Even though the paint is on there, the E6000 is going to do its job. We're going to use some hot glue to attach our home sign on there. The hot glue will hold this fine because it's not heavy and paper sticks wonderfully to hot glue. I was thinking how cute it would be if I had some trees to put on here, and I remembered I had some of those little neutral Christmas trees, so I just pulled the wood piece off the bottom and used hot glue to glue this. I attached it to the house with the hot glue and just kind of held it there, and it worked perfect. I wanted something to go on the bottom right underneath that door to kind of tie in where that little cut is in the twine. So I saw that I had made up a bunch of little bows ahead of time of different types of material, and I grabbed one of those little twine bows and just put a little dab of hot glue and put it there, and it just tied that in perfectly and gave just a little added touch to the house. I didn't really want to paint the outside of this. I like the metal, and I knew that I wanted to add a magnet to the back of it, so I found this trim. I thrifted this from a Goodwill, and I thought it would make a perfect trim to go around this and to tie in with the kind of neutral looks of the house and the key. You know, I was thinking I only put the word home on here, but you can actually personalize this to someone's year that they get their home. You could put that on there. If their house is a blue house, you could paint a blue house. There's so many things you could do to personalize this. I just thought this would be neat to have in my stash in case somebody I know has a housewarming party. I could throw this in with their gift. So I just added that with some hot glue and put a magnet on the back of this, and this piece is done. And you all, I am in love with this. Y'all have to let me know, is this something that you would make and give away as a gift? This next project is so cute, you guys. I enjoyed making this so much. So I'm using these two lids and two pickle jar lids to go ahead and trace some cardboard out, because we're going to use the cardboard to insert inside the lids to make them not hollow. Once I got that cardboard cut out, I'm just going to use hot glue to glue it to the insides of these lids, like I said, to make them not hollow, because we're going to be covering these and I don't want the fabric to fall down in the backs of these. So I dug through my fabric and I found some of this like painter's canvas cloth, and I thought this would be the perfect color for this project that I have in mind. And I want to connect my pieces together, and I'm going to use just a little bit of hot glue, but that's not going to permanently hold them together. So we're going to use the fabric to help do that. Once I get those glued together, I'm going to go ahead and kind of cut this fabric to go all around the two circles to make my shape. Now you can do this many different ways. You can kind of cut around to make it have little strips that fit around the circle, or you can just fold it up and glue it around. You kind of do what works best for you, but you'll see here that I do cut off the excess fabric, and then I cut those little strips and just keep using the hot glue to get my shape, get my fabric glued all around my shape. Once I get that finished and get all that excess fabric cut off, I am going to cut two circles or circle-like shapes to straighten the back of that up and give it more of a finished look, because this is going to hang on something and I don't want the back to look all janky like it is right now. I wanted this little fella to have a bow tie, so I grabbed some of this gorgeous, it's like a muted minty green, sagey green color from Dollar Tree, and I made just a little flat oblong, which is going to be my bow tie part. I've cut off 2 legs to go on it to be my little ribbon tails, and I grabbed some of this little pink velvet ribbon that I had because I want it to go kind of around the center instead of having the green do that. So we're going to go ahead and just glue that around, and then we're going to glue our little parts together to make this a cute little bow tie for our bunny. Y'all, winter ain't got nothing on me. I am already in the spring spirit. I hope you are too. So I wanted to make this a cute little bunny, but we are going to do an ode to winter coming up. I grabbed this copper wire out of my stash and thought how cute to have this copper colored ears. But then I was thinking maybe I'll wrap it with that velvet pink ribbon that I used on his bow tie. So that's what I did. I just twisted the bottoms of these and then used the ribbon to start on the bottom with just a touch of hot glue to wrap itself around, and then did that all the way around the ribbon or the wire, and then hot glued the very last end to the bottom. To attach the ears, I'm just going to use some hot glue and stick that wire in between the 2 pieces of fabric, and I did the other ear off camera. Now I'm going to be using some buttons for the eyes, so I'm just hot gluing them on. You could put stitches in these and that would be cute, but I decided not to do that with mine. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the fabric of where I want my nose to be, and I'm just going to start adding some twine for the whiskers first, and then we're going to add some hot glue on top of that and use a half wood bead for the nose. To finish him off, we're just going to add a little pink button to his belly, and I think this is such an adorable little bunny. I just added him to a little wreath I had hanging in my home. You could put this on an Easter wreath or a spring wreath. Let me know what you all think of this one, and can you imagine if you had really large lids, what you could do with them? You could make a huge bunny. I love this next project. So my sister has been saving some of her recycling, and she sent me one of these coffee containers, and I grabbed the lid off and I thought, you know, I'm going to make a little wall hanging with this. So I'm going to be using that white chalk paint to give this 2 good coats. Now you can use whatever color paint you want. You can use different types of paints. I just like the chalk paint. It sticks really well, but I use acrylic paints and clay paints too, so just use whatever you have. And once this dries, we're going to turn this into something that I know you guys are going to love. This is going to be fairly easy. So we're going to use some of that same fabric. We're going to use some of this nautical rope or rope from the Dollar Tree. You can use any kind that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and measure mine out to begin with because we need to put the rope inside of here before we put our fabric on. We're going to go ahead and use our hot glue gun to glue that rope to the lid. And I did leave some plastic on that, but I ended up pulling that off because it does show. And I've grabbed a piece of this drop cloth, and I'm just going to make a little edge on it by gluing down a seam that was already there. Now I'm just determining how much fabric that I need. So I've laid this down. I'm making a pocket. So I'm just going to cut some of this around my pocket or my lid. And then I'm going to do the same thing sort of that we've been doing. I'm going to cut those little strips and hot glue this on the back of this lid with those strips to form my pocket. Once this is done gluing on the back, our pocket will be formed, and I'm going to cut a circle to finish the back of this off, kind of like we did with the bunny rabbit. We want to make sure that the back of this looks nice, so we're just kind of doing the same thing. We're just gluing a circle all around the edge to make it look finished on the back. Before I fill my pocket up, I'm going to go ahead and add some styrofoam down in the middle of it, or down in the whole pocket itself, with a little bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to add some of these gorgeous Dollar Tree succulents to that styrofoam. To help fill in a little bit of the gaps and cover up some of that styrofoam, I want to add some of this moss that I thrifted. I thrifted this bag for 49 cents. So we're just going to cut some of that moss off and chop it up in a few little pieces and hot glue it kind of down in this, so that if you're looking in it, you're not really seeing any gaps. It just looks like a full planter. Once I finished adding the moss, I kind of thought this needed something on the front of it. And I'm not a big word person or sign person, so I thought that I would get some of these cute little butterfly stickers that I've had in my stash and use them. Now, you can pull the backs off of these, but I just left it on because we're going to use some hot glue, and the thicker the butterfly, the better. So I found this one that would fit inside of this cute little metal frame that I also pulled out of my stash. Now, you don't have to use a frame, but I just thought it would give it a little bit more texture. So we're just going to use hot glue to attach the frame and the butterfly to the front of this planter. I had this little string of beads left over from a Dollar Tree project, so I'm just going to use it as the hanger on the back of this, gluing it with some of that same fabric. And now this piece is finished. You guys will have to let me know what you think about this one. I just love how a little bit of fabric and a few things from Dollar Tree can turn something that is meant to go in the trash into something that you can gift or hang in your home, or possibly even sell. Our last project is a little winter project, and it turns out so cute, you guys. Okay, we're going to do the same process we did with the little bunny. We're going to use a spaghetti jar lid and a pickle jar lid. We're going to paint them with some white chalk paint. We're going to give them a couple good coats. The reason we're painting these is because I'm going to be using this gorgeous embroidered thrifted fabric or placemat, and you would have been able to see those lids through this, so that's why they needed to be painted white. I've cut this down a little bit, and now I'm kind of cutting it in an oval shape, getting prepared to cut those strips to glue on the back of both of these lids. We're going to use the same process we did with the bunny. We're just going to glue all the fabric around to attach these together. I did put some hot glue in between the two lids as well. For the back of this, we're going to do the same process, except I'm going to be using that painter's drop cloth for the back of this because the white is so see-through, and I wanted a thicker finish on the back of this. To make this look like a snowman, we're going to be using this twine ribbon or rope. It's a white and natural color. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue to start it off on the back, and then we're going to wrap it around a few times and put it in a scarf-like position on the front, and then glue it kind of in a Y on the front. I cut each length a little bit different so they weren't the same length, and then I'm just going to fray the ends to make it look like a frayed ends on the scarf. Next, we're going to work on his little hat. I'm going to use that same balsa wood to cut him a hat. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your scissors out and cut it in the shape that you want it. And you can sand off uneven edges and make it look a little bit more softer by getting those corners sanded off, which is what I do. And then we're going to give this a couple coats of black paint after we use hot glue to glue it together. Now you can use wood glue if you'd like, but I didn't think that was necessary. I just used hot glue. And then I used hot glue to attach him to the fabric on our little snowman. I forgot that once this dried and I did have it glued together, I went ahead and glued some of this twine. I think I did 3 wraps around just to give this a little bit more interest and make it look more like a hat. I dug through my stash and found some more buttons for this little guy's eyes. And I found this little clock part for his nose. I thought that would just give him something different. And I grabbed some more of that copper looking wire and just wrapped it around for his little mouth. I thought these metal pieces would add even more texture and more mixed media for this little guy. And so what I did was, once I got that wrapped together, I just cut it down and took my little jewelry pliers and kind of made circles on the ends of the mouth. And I ended up using hot glue to glue all of this on. I thought for his little belly we would use I think it used to be a button and I cut the back of it off, but it looks like a little clock face. He just kind of looks a little steampunky now, maybe. I don't know. I thought it was really, really cute. And then for his scarf, I added a tiny little gold and cream colored flower. You all will have to let me know what you think about this one. I want to take this time to ask you to subscribe to my channel and to give this video a thumbs up and comment if you like it. Let me know if you guys are enjoying the recycling videos as much as I am. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video.